with another edition of This Week in Property, TWIP as we call it. I'm Jayashree Kurup. I am editor on Magicbricks. I've got with me Prabhakar Sinha, real estate editor of the Times of India. And today we're discussing, is there enough money in the market to finish projects? We know that there is a big concern, especially in the Delhi NCR, also to a much smaller extent in other markets. There are projects that are held up for various reasons. We're not going into the reasons of why a project is held up. We're going into, is there money enough? Will there be money enough to complete these projects, and so that the consumers who have paid over the past so many years, will they get the house, or will there be projects that will fall by the wayside? Prabhakar, let's talk about the various reasons why projects have been held up.
The main reason is that, number one, diversion of the fund apart. I mean, diversion of the fund is a common cause.
Yeah.
But the another regions, particularly in Noida, Greater Noida extension side, is that builders sold it very cheap. They launched the project at 1800, 1900 rupees per square feet, thinking that that latter price will rise, and then they will sell at the higher price, and so they will cross-subsidize the entire project, and project will be completed. But unfortunately, they could never get the opportunity to raise the price.
Because there was too much stock in the market, right?
Exactly. So what happened that, and in between there was some court order which asked them to stop the construction and all that, so projects got delayed earlier.
So two cycles I think were delayed. One is the NGT order, and the other one was the farm agitation.
Farm agitation because of the court order. Yes. So that led to at least around 2 years delay in the entire construction. At the same time, the cost also get escalated. So what happened that many of these projects got stuck because of, and besides that, only 60% or 70% of the projects are sold. So 30% are still not sold. Right. So what happened that in toto, even if suppose in a tower, a developer has not diverted the fund, but if the 70% unit have been sold, whereas the cost of construction is
for 100%.
Is for the 100%,
right.
So they are not able to complete the projects.
So earlier, what was the consumer funding is one means of getting money for a developer to complete the project. What percentage of projects here have got project funding?
Now, project funding, hardly any projects have got from the banks. Banks are not giving any money for the project funding. So most of these projects have been financed either through the private money, taken money from the private equity and all that, or otherwise the sales proceeds. Whatever the sales proceeds have come, through that they wanted to complete the project. But still, let me tell you, many of these projects are in money. In money means that
they have receivables.
They have receivables. Yes. And those receivables are sufficient enough to complete the project.
Now, this is a very positive statement that we're making. Projects which are under construction, where consumers are, even given the fact that consumers have not been buying over the last 2 years, there has been a slowdown in the market. For those consumers, the 70% of the project that consumers have already bought into, if the consumer starts paying, there is enough money to complete the project.
Now here, I believe that now these buyers should also try to play a very active role. And they can take over the projects also along with the developer, because developer has the know-how to complete the construction. So they should try to join hand with the developer. I mean, and most of the developers are willing also to join hand with these buyers and open a escrow account, monitor the construction, and use the money of that escrow account only for the purpose of the construction of that project. And for that purpose, I believe, I mean, people are suggesting now that the buyer should form a RWA, and those RWA should participate in the construction process and the monitoring of the fund, the utilization of the monetary of fund. And through that, they should also persuade their buyers that at least they should not go for the refund order from any court. If they will go for the refund order and court gives them the refund order, then whatever money left collected in the escrow account, if used to refund the money, then project cannot be completed.
So consumers, what we're saying is that you are actually in control today. of the 70% that projects have sold, each project we feel that roughly about, this is a rule of thumb, about 70% of the project has been sold and a 30% is still left to sell. This is the average in the market. The 70% of project that has been sold, about 30% of that has been sold to investors.
Yeah.
And today, those investors who are not end users, who want to just get their money and get out of the project, for them, if they exit the project, they go to court, they get a court order, and the court awards them a refund order, they get more money than what the current market value is.
Exactly.
Because there is a penalty attached to it.
Yeah.
However, if the developer honors the court order and starts refunding money to the investors, what will happen is that the project, whatever money is there in the system, there is definitely a liquidity crunch in the market today, and that will translate into the project getting stuck. Some people will get some extra money, but the bulk of the end users who want the project will not get the money.
They will not get the money.
So you have a very big role to play. Consumers, you have a role to play. Let me tell you how that works. Prabhakar is suggesting that all the buyers of a project have to form an RWA. Normally, this RWA was formed after the possession was handed over, and the developer would then work with the RWA. Today, even though the project is still under construction and not completed, create your RWA, try and get 100% consumer buyers to be part of that RWA. Now, in every project,
pass a resolution that no refund will be asked, and then take charge of the project. Ask the developer to join you, open an escrow account, collect the money, and use the money to complete the project. You can appoint a new contractor also, otherwise the old contractors can be asked also to continue the construction. Let me tell you, some of the projects are being implemented in this format, and they are in 3-4 towers of one project has already been completed, delivered.
And that is good news for you. You as end users who have been paying money, you are paying your EMIs, you need to get that project going. And if you want your project to be completed, you have to be in control. You form the RWA, you pass the resolution that till the project is completed, there will be no refunds. Today, whatever funds there is in the system is towards completing the project and not towards refunding to whoever wants to take out their money. That way, what you will ensure is that whoever wants to exit the project, you see, once the project starts building, there is end user interest in that. What the ones who want to exit, they will have to exit by selling off to somebody, another end user, and they can move out of the project. But taking money out with penalty is not an option today because the projects will get stuck and there is only that much money in the market. Now let's talk about...
Not only that, now once the projects start getting implemented, constructed, then even the unsold units can be sold in the market, money can be raised, and the construction can be done very, in a fast manner, and the project can be completed fast.
Right.
Only thing is this, that you will have to join hand together and start moving. Now, if you will just see that, keep waiting that no court will say something and ask the developer to refund the money. Developer has no money. You can put him in the jail.
So guys, remember that court, you have options. You can go to court, you can go to RERA, but ultimately today, I think the first thing that you need to understand is let's get the stuck projects moving. Let end users who have borrowed money and are paying EMIs, let them get their houses first.
And later you can move in for, I'm not saying you that you forego the interest on the money that the developer has delayed in the giving you possession. Fight a case after that. After taking possession, file a case against him and ask him to pay the interest on that. That is latter part. First, you take possession of the flat.
And to take possession, you have to go to completion. For completion, you need funds. For funds, you need the consumers to start paying. And if the consumers have to start paying, all consumers will have to pay so that the project finishes. After that, you can always talk about the penalties, how you can get it, go back to court, get whatever is your due. But the first stage is let the project go to completion. Prabhakar, I was speaking to some developers in Gurgaon, and one of the problems that they face is that even when they've started constructing the project, about 30% of people are not paying their dues. Yeah. There are a lot of consumers who thought that they could grow the money, exit fast, and because they haven't been able to exit, they're not paying. Now here, I would like to give a strong statement to these consumers who bought in and who have stopped paying. Should a consumer stop paying?
No, they should not. Now the problem here is with the developer. Earlier, developer used to cancel the allotment and then they used to sell the project or the flat in the market. Today, market is bad. So the developer is in a catch-22 situation. He can't cancel the project. He cancels the project. He can't sell it. So he is in trouble. So many of these developers, they should try to raise some sort of funds so that those fellows who are not paying right now you cancel the project, complete the project after that, and cancel those flats, complete the project, and sell those flats in the market. That is the one alternative. And for that, developer will have to work. Developer will have to find some fund by either mortgaging those 30 apartments which has not been completed and which has not been sold also, and in the project they should mortgage. They are trying to mortgage it.
Are banks doing that?
Yeah, some of the banks, private banks, and particularly housing finance companies are taking those apartments on collateral basis. And I know that one company has taken some around 70, 80 apartments for 30, 35 crores of rupees.
So it works like this. The developer has unsold inventory. He's offloading his unsold inventory by mortgaging that to a financier. It could be a housing finance institution, or it could be a private equity fund or a bank.
Yeah, high net worth individuals.
High net worth individuals who are giving the crores that are required to take that project to completion.
At least kick-start the project, so that then the buyers also starts paying.
Right. Remember, your installments are due. But you are not paying those installments because the construction has not reached those stages.
Yeah.
As the construction progresses, the bank will keep lending on behalf of the retail consumers. The bank will keep lending to the project and the project will be complete. In many cases, we have noticed that developers have broken large projects into phases. If you had 15 towers, they've broken it into phases of 2 or 3 towers. Complete those towers, get the project moving, get the funds coming, and then move on to the next 2 towers. And that's how projects are being completed. For the Indian market, for the consumers, for everybody in this market, the most vital thing is let the projects complete.
Yeah.
And we've started getting some queries on our channel. Keep those queries coming, participate in this discussion. The reason why we picked up this discussion is because we've got a very large number of queries from end consumers like you who are worried, justifiably worried, will I get my house? And the message that we have figured out from the markets is every one of you can get your house. And let me tell you one solution that is happening with one developer in Gurgaon. We don't want to name the developer right now. We don't want to name either of the developers. There is a developer who started a project without environmental clearance. There is a developer who had 15 towers who has started work in various stages on the first 7 towers. And the lenders, which are large lenders, institutional lenders, they have found that the project, there were lots of things wrong with the project. The project is stalled, the developer is in trouble. However, there is a very large number of consumers, 500 consumers who have bought into the project and they are paying their EMIs. Now, those people have been agitating and wondering how to get their money. The financiers have joined with the consumers, and the financiers and the consumers, exactly like Prabhakar said, they have said, whatever happens, we want the project to continue. So the project has been broken into 2 phases. Phase 1, the first 7 towers that were sold. Phase 2, the 7 towers where no sales have happened. Now, what are you doing here? The end users are all signing an agreement with the financiers saying that we want this project to go through to completion. The financier is ensuring that whatever was promised as penalty, since the project is almost 5 years late, whatever the penalty was, the 5%, 8%, whatever was the original agreement, that penalty will be paid to every signatory of this project to get the penalty that was due to you for the last 4 years, 5 years, whatever. from the date when construction starts, and there are a lot of approvals that are required. And here the missing piece, Prabhakar will pick this up as a next point, the missing piece is that the authorities need to be proactive right now, because there are things wrong, there are things that have been violated, and here collect the penalties and move the project is what the authorities need to do. But however, what is happening is that the 200 buyers who have already agreed are trying persuasion to get at least 70% of the buyers to say, we will agree to let the project move.
And we'll pay the dues.
And we'll pay the dues. So what happens is that when you start paying your dues, money comes into the system. What we're discussing today is, where does the money come from? The money comes from the financiers, the money comes from the consumers, regular payments, and the money also comes from a large number of high net worth individuals who are returning as investors. But it's good for the, this kind of investment is good for the market. This money is also coming from private equity funds, which when they see a project is going to move, they are coming in with their money and completing the project. There is money in the market. What is not there is trust. And I think what needs to be built is trust in this market.
And for that, buyers have to participate in the entire process.
Absolutely. The groundswell is important. You as buyers have far more power in your hands than you think you do. An individual buyer has very limited power. A RWA, a group of buyers, a forum has good power.
I mean, they can really turn the entire tide. They can go and ask the developer. Developers are willing. Let me tell you, I haven't come across a single developer who says that, no boss, I will not work with the buyers to complete the project. Everybody is ready to.
In the RERA GST era, not completing a project is no longer an option. You have to complete your project. Prabhakar, a lot of developers, and this is, I think I've heard this from about 6 developers that I spoke to last week. There is a 5% of developers who are of buyers who are now turning blackmailers. They are out to make trouble. They are out to find things that are wrong with the project, and the developers are finding it very difficult to handle that kind of disruption in an already stressed market. Would you like to comment on this?
Now, developer here, I believe, has to find out some solution, some way out. And for that, either they should join hand with the residents, and they should form a forum. Now, I have seen, like, the many buyers will just for the small things, either will go to the court or will go to the authority and then delay the entire, say, completion certificate, or the delay certain things, and the developers are completely sued. I know some of the developers have filed FIR against those buyers. But those buyers are also in group. They are very powerful people. And let me tell you, there are these groups who are making 50 lakhs of rupees a month, 1 crore rupees a month. They are forcing these developers to pay for some violation. Like one guy said that, boss, your restaurant is not in a good shape. And for that, he says that, no, I will not allow the authority to give you the completion certificate. Because in Noida, the developer, this authority, gives an advertisement to all the stakeholders that if they have any problem in declaring this project complete, and then some of the developers, some of the buyers comes in and raise some kind of objection, that could be flimsy, but then the authority has to find a solution of that, and that delays the whole process. Now the developers are in soup because they want to get the CC, and so that the registry starts. And when the registry starts, then the buyers pays the rest of the 10% amount. That 10% amount is also huge cash flow today. So now those developers are saying that we are in bind. We don't want delay. And these fellows are just insisting for that. And so we'll have to, but we have no choice.
If you are a group of end users and you have been paying your dues, you need the house to stay in because you have a rental outflow and an EMI outflow, I think this is the time for you to step up and say that disruption is not an option. And if 5% of buyers pick up issues which are, there have been violations. Let's take the ground reality. There have been some amount of violation, some amount of delay. And
I'm not saying that the developers are completely, they are truthful or they are doing the
we are not batting for the developer or the consumer. What we're saying is, if this market has to move forward and you have to get your houses, there has to be a small element of acceptance that things have gone wrong in the past. How can we correct them today? Now, if you start delaying possession of houses, if anything starts delaying possession of houses, you will have to pay EMIs without getting your house. So it makes sense for you as a end user body to make sure that possession is not delayed on flimsy grounds, even if there is a 5% vested interest who wants to make money off the developers.
From the developers.
And remember that money that the developer is paying to them should actually have gone into your project. It should have gone into your project, and when they get money out of the developer, that really amounts to unadulterated blackmail, and that should not be allowed. We are increasingly seeing that there is a group of people who are making money off developers using the circumstances of the market.
I know some of these developers, some of these buyers have filed case in Shimla against some of the developers and got the NBW issued from there.
Right.
Now, these developers, now he is a buyer from here. He has taken the refund, this gentleman, and not only refund, he has taken the interest also on the refund at 12% rate. And still he says that now he has lost some interest, something like that. And so he is going to file a case, and he is filing a case. Now, this kind of a harassment, I mean, I'll call it a harassment, though I am not saying that, okay, you don't file a case against developer. That is between you and the developer, you file a case. But at least don't let that project get suffer.
Whatever you do, file your cases, get your dues. What is due to you, it is your due. But get all that after the project is complete. Even after the project is complete, when you go to NCDRC, you will get it. So let the project go through to completion. Let's now pick up a couple of issues that our consumers are raising. Now, Sanjay from Delhi says, how do I check that my builder is in capacity to complete the project?
Now, you form an RWA, talk to the developer. Developer today is ready to show you the Excel sheet.
Right.
That what is the dues left. Talk to the contractors that how much money is required to complete the project. Now, you can get a certificate. I know some of the developers are ready to give you the certificate also. That boss, this is the kind of money is outstanding towards the buyers, and this is the money required to complete the projects. This is the contractor. And then you see that whether this is feasible or not. If that is possible, then only you participate, you form the open an escrow account and put the money in that escrow account, make one person signatory from the buyer side of that escrow account, and monitor the expenditure of the money from that escrow account only for the construction of the project.
So become an active participant in the process of completion of your project. The message that we're giving out is you as consumers have a lot of power in your hands. Become active as a group of interested people for your own project to get completed. Today in the RERA era, every developer has to maintain his expense accounts. And those expense accounts tells you how much receivables are there, from consumers, from bankers, from various sources. Where there is a shortfall, the developer will be able to raise funds, but that fund that he raises, ensure that it is spent in completion of your project.
Coming to the escrow account, and from that escrow account, it goes to the completion of the project only.
And today you have RERA on your side. So when you have to take a project through to completion, RERA is on your side, NCDRC is on your side, but do not disrupt the process of completion. You need your house. Now, there is a query that has come, Prabhakar. This is Tej Singh from Mumbai who says, is there enough money in the Mumbai market? Does investment make sense in this scenario? I think we are not, today we are saying that if you're making an investment, yes, it is a good time to buy a house because it is at the lowest rates. But remember that there's going to be so much stock in this market that going forward, this market is not going to rise, give exponential returns.
If you're a long-term investor, say of the 5 years horizon, then this is a very good market because market is going to saturate in the next 1 to 2 years time. And after that, the prices will move up. But whether this is the correct rate level or whether the prices will only go up from here, this is very difficult to predict.
Right.
But for a long-term market, long-term view, this is a very good market to buy.
And the markets are in correction mode. Today what we see, and I'll give you the Magicbricks statistics, we find that there are far more buyers, serious buyers in the market than ever before. the markets tanked when you saw that the buyer's intent to buy had gone away.
Yeah.
Today, the intent to buy is there. The buyer's taking far more time to make his choice and buy. But in that process, the end user is getting 100% sure that the project delay does not impact him.
Particularly NCR market. Bombay market, I don't have much knowledge, but for NCR market, let me tell you today that the prices here is lowest in the other cities around the NCR, like say Lucknow, Chandigarh,
Exactly.
Ahmedabad, anywhere.
Today you can buy a house in the NCR at a rate lower than small cities like Lucknow,
Dehradun, for that matter.
And because the NCR market was under stress and the developers need to sell out to complete the projects. The same thing goes for the Mumbai market. The prices are lower. If you are going for for affordable ranges, you will have to go to the suburbs like Thane, Navi Mumbai, and so on. But remember that there is a huge infrastructure boost that's coming into the Mumbai market. Any new infrastructure, and we've seen how the Thane market picked up after the expressway started. We are confident that with the metro, with the harbour link, with the extension of the suburban rails, you are going to see a lot of connectivity. And in Mumbai, everything sells on connectivity. So if you're planning to buy, do your analysis carefully before you decide where to buy. But if you have a long-term horizon, yes, this is a good time to enter the markets. We've also got Samar Khan, who says, what about builder charging customers for compensation to farmers? The amount is as high as 10% of basic sale price. Should we pay? I'm talking about Supertech Eco Village 2.
10%, I don't know, total outstanding amount or the cost price?
Basic sale price, he says.
Basic sales price. Now, the issue is this, that earlier these developers had announced that they will not be charging. They will not pass on the cost which these farmers had increased. But later on, when they could not increase the price on the remaining inventory, so then they decided that they'll have to pass on. So a part of the cost they have passed on to all the buyers. And so the prices have gone up because they had to pay something around, on the land cost, they had to pay 40% or more than that on that price. So that cost they are passing on. So now here, I mean, because the developers are in very distressed state, and so they are passing it on. And in fact, authority has not asked them to pass on, but they had informed the authority and the other body to.
So you see, what's happened is that developers have actually told the authorities that we are in a capital crunch situation. We need to complete projects, and therefore we are going to pass on 1%, some percentage of that to the consumers. Your question is, should you pay? It is a tight market situation. You need your project. We would say start a dialogue with your developer. I don't think any developer is confrontationist today. Also talk to others who are buying into your project and collectively take a decision on what can be done. So start the dialogue with your developer and then see how it can be done. Parallelly, we will also talk to the markets.
But one thing I'll say, that when they had declared this kind of a price, at that time they had not taken this cost into the price. So, and this cost came on later because of the court order, and that came 2 years after they sold the project.
Right.
And that is why they are saying it, boss, they are right now to pass on. They have the right to pass on the cost to the buyers. So it's up to them. And basically what I'll suggest you that, you'll have to negotiate with your developer.
Exactly. And don't go for confrontation. Go and dialogue with the developers. I don't think any developer today is in the confrontationist mode. But go as a group of buyers. Don't go as individuals. It makes it more difficult. There is Ankush Mahan who says, should we buy any project which is not RERA registered, even though reputation of builder is good and project is ready to move? projects that are completed do not need to be registered under RERA. Remember that. RERA is for projects that are ongoing, that are going to be launched. Yeah. If a developer has got a completion, the developer does not need a RERA registration, and if the developer's reputation is good, the project is complete and it is ready for possession, go ahead and buy. There's no there's no harm and there's no risk. Yeah. RERA is to minimize the risk that consumers of ongoing projects. Yeah. Okay, there is Dharmesh who's saying, what is the criteria to choose a builder so that we do not land in a financial problem later on? Now, Prabhakar, these 5 things, 4 things, 8 things help consumers, because as individuals, this probably is the first time they're buying, and they don't know how to do it. Give me your
first of all, see that whether that project is registered with the RERA or not. The first thing. Second thing, see that whether that developer has completed any projects earlier or not. If that project has completed now, and provided he is buying the ongoing projects, or he is going to buy the project which is going to be launched.
Right.
Otherwise, my advice in this market will be to buy in the completed project, because that he will get cheaper than the projects which are going to be launched now, because they are pricing it at higher price. And third thing is that now if the project is that, he should see that whether all the approvals are there with the developer is not or not. If all the approvals are there in his hand, then only he should buy in that project. And the fourth thing about the reputation of the project, he should try to find out from the other developers. And last thing, I'll suggest him that even if he has money to pay upfront, he should take loan, and he should take loan from a reputed bank, so that they will also do their cross-checking that whether this developer is good or not. That will also help him.
Prabhakar, banks in between had not done too much due diligence.
That is the problem.
Today, the problem with projects that are stuck, and many consumers are very miffed by this, that we always used to suggest that let the bank do the due diligence, take a loan. But banks themselves have...
of late, they have failed us. Yeah. I understand that point, but I believe now some of the bankers are doing it correctly, and they're saying it, give us no, we will not give the loan to all the projects, only to those projects where we are sure that developer is going to implement that project, to complete that project.
And remember that today the market conditions are very different. Earlier there was hardly any regulation. Today there's far more regulation, and the bankers, the developers, and the consumers are all aware that policy and regulation has come in, and you have to be careful. So therefore,
these 5 things: first of all, RERA, developers, all the approvals should be there. Take loan, find out the reputation of the developer, and whether he has completed a project earlier or not.
Right. And on RERA, you can check actually.
Check everything.
You can go. Some are still taking time to do this, but in RERA, all the details of the project, including when each stage of the project moves, is supposed to be there. It's not there everywhere right now, but we are seeing it happening more and more as we go along.
Very soon at all the sites.
Right. Now, Naresh from Gurgaon says, these days many developers in Delhi NCR are going bankrupt. What can be the main problem? I think we all know what the problem is, but let's talk about if a developer is bankrupt, what should you do?
I mean, you go to RERA. The best thing, you go to RERA, ask the RERA to find the solution, ask the RERA that give the project to us. And now whatever the remaining amount has to be paid, we will collect and complete the project. Keep the developer completely out of the project and get the project completed. Now, only thing is that at the time of buying, if he had ensured that the developer had the land and developer had all the approvals, then that project can be completed later on, because the cost of construction is not very high. If the 50% or 60% is completed, then only 15% or 20% of the cost of the flat will be required to complete the project.
Right.
So that is not a very huge amount. So they should take over the project, get it completed. But going to NCLT, going to this insolvency board is not going to help, particularly for the home buyers.
Yeah.
Because they are the last priority, the first priority of the banks or the lenders, and these home buyers will not get the justice in the present format.
Yeah.
Either they should change it, then only there is any solution. Otherwise, no.
In fact, we discussed this in our last issue, and I think we'll quickly touch upon it. Real estate is a very peculiar sector for the Company Law Tribunal to handle, because it was always to protect the lender. Now the lender has lent to a project and he says, I've lent to the project, I want to take it. I'm a secured lender. The consumer is a secured buyer, unsecured buyer, though he was promised one unit in the completed project, right? And he has in turn taken loans from lenders as retail loans. Now the bankers who lend to the retail consumers, their money is considered unsecured.
No, that is secured. Now, there is a very tricky situation here, and I believe government is going to address it very soon. But at present, the buyer are unsecured lenders. So, if the entire thing is go for the insolvency completely, I mean, if it is going to be auctioned or sold out in pieces, the buyer's right will be the last.
Right. And therefore, don't think of the NCLT as your solution. Go to RERA, it is for consumer protection. Go to the Consumer Redressal Forum, it is for consumer protection. These are the two forums open to you. But again, like we said, go there for completion of projects rather than exiting.
That is the only solution.
Yeah. Lalit from Noida says, what are the key reasons of delay in delivery of residential projects? Is money the main reason?
Obviously, money is the main reason, because money got short. And so the developers could not complete the project. And now the construction has stopped. So the buyers have stopped paying. So now there is a completely cash crunch. Developers are not able to complete the project. Now, certainly in India, like in the foreign countries, when a developer starts construction, then he makes a provision of money to complete the project on its own without selling a single unit. But in India, the system is different. In India, what happens that the developers complete the projects from the money which he gets from the buyers of the flat. So from the sales proceeds particularly. Now, sales proceed also comes in phases. It's continuously keep coming in. Now, if that channel also dries up, then certainly there is no money in the system and the construction is stopped. So this has happened in Delhi, NCR particularly, because of the various reasons, because construction is stopped as court order or the NGT order or some other reason, farmers agitation. So when the construction is stopped, buyers stopped paying. So then the developer also has no money. Whatever money they had paid into the rent, or they had diverted the money, whatever with the reason. Now they have no money. What they are saying, they have no money. The courts are also asking them, putting them behind the bar, so that they should raise money and come for the construction. But that will be a very prolonged case they'll have to fight. And I don't think that the buyers at this point of time should get indulged into that. They should try to form an association and get the project completed. That is a better solution rather than moving to the court and waiting for that entire thing to get resolved from the court side, because that will take a long time.
Prabhakar, we got a consumer here, Prasun, who says that his developer had launched 15 towers. The first 8 towers now are they have started work on, but he has registered under RERA, but the tower that he's bought, which is tower number 14 or 12 or something like that, tower is going to be completed in 2021. Is he right in asking should he go to the developer and ask him to give him one unit in the towers that are under construction, where he can get, will the developers taking requests like this?
He should. I mean, he should go. Many of the developers are nowadays doing it also. Because now, look, basically RERA is also saying it that whatever the original contract was made, that contract must be fulfilled. The buyers and developers both. Now, if in the original contract, suppose that flat had to be delivered, say, in 2018 or 2019, then the developers should be delivering those flats at that time. If they are delaying from that, then there are penal provisions in the contract of sale itself. So, according to that, the developer will have to pay to the buyers. But that is not sufficient. Right. That is why the people, now it has been changed into the RERA. But still, many developers want that, boss, if you want to shift from the other towers to the towers which is going to be completed earlier, the developers are changing it. But I don't know about this gentleman, why not the developer, and why has he approached to the developer or not?
He wants to know whether he should.
He should. Developers do change it.
So Prasun, answer for you is go back to your developer. Ask him to change into the tower that is being completed today, because your tower is getting delayed, and he has put a much delayed timeline in the
provision. Some of the units are left unsold in the towers which are going to be completed. So then only he should do it.
Right. Let's go to the next question. Mukesh wants to know why there has been so many issues related to money now post GST and RERA. Mukesh, the problems were already there with RERA and GST. Today the market has been tightened. The developers are being forced to deliver. So when you start delivering in a tight market condition, these problems will come up because...
No, earlier there was a different kind of a situation. The moment a developer used to launch a project, the entire project used to get sold, say, in 2 hours, 5 hours, or 1 day or 2 days. So developers always used to have used sum of money, and so the money was not an issue. Now, if one buyer delayed the payment, then developer used to cancel that project, cancel that units to him, and he used to immediately sell that units to the market, and the market was ready to accept that. Now that situation has changed, and that is why the flow of money in the system has dried out completely, and so there is issue of money today.
Right. Now, Prabhakar, we're going to pick up one issue, that is. Today, should a consumer buy into a new launched projects that are under construction? Should they buy at all? If you have to buy, what all do you have to keep in mind?
Only thing, the RERA,
right?
Reputed developer, see the projects. I mean, all the approvals are there in the system. They have taken the approvals, and the land is, and the entire cost of the land is paid. Now, the problem in Noida, Greater Noida is also that most of the cases, only 10% of the land cost has been paid so far.
Right.
So the 90% is yet to be paid.
Yeah.
So now there is no money. Now, even if suppose, now in many cases what are happening that the project is complete, but the land cost has not been paid to the authority. So now the CC, for the completion certificate, developer has to pay the entire price of the land. Till they will not pay, the authority will not give them the completion certificate, and so the registry will not happen. So now if you are going to buy in a new project, then ensure now at least that land cost is paid, project is registered with the RERA, developer is good, and banks have approved that project.
Right.
You can buy it.
Right. Prabhakar, if consumers who have already got houses and they want to exit, they want to upgrade themselves, you have any advice for them?
Now, I mean, this is the right time you can do it, because today you can get the flat of your choice at a very reasonable price. Now, problem only is that if you want to sell your existing project, that will be a problematic. So if you are looking, and if you have found a unit in the same project, then talk to the developer, return this unit and buy the bigger one. I believe that is a very, very good opportunity. Now, the price and all that has to be negotiated, but one can do it, and one can do it. It's a good time for that. That's what I will say. But if you want to sell it, and then you want to buy some other project, selling is a tough proposition. But if you can sell it, please do it.
Even if you have to sell at today's prices, remember that the house that you want to buy will not come at today's prices again. So sometimes it take a wise decision. If you can find a buyer for your current residence, even at today's rates, exit that, use that as the seed capital for a house that you may want to stay in for the next 10 years, 15 years, and so on.
Yeah.
Right?
This is a good time.
There is Jitendra Kumar, who says he had invested in a project in Noida, heard that the builder has shelved the project and he is not even returning the money. What should I do?
Go to RERA.
Go to RERA. That is your, and RERA will not allow a developer to hold your money without completing the project. Okay, we've got a consumer who's bought into a luxury apartment. The EMI is high and the developer has not started the project. It's been 2 years now. The EMI is high and the interest rate is high. So what should I do? Exit that project? You can't exit the project.
Exit the project, developer might not be giving your money back right now, because that is the problem.
So go to RERA.
Go to RERA. First of all, the project should be registered with the RERA. If it is not, then he should file a complaint in the RERA and ask this developer to register the project in the RERA and start construction. Now, about the interest rate, they should go for the revision of the interest rate to the bank. They'll have to pay a very small amount. And today the interest rate is 8.35 to 8.25 to 8.35%. That's the reasonable rate today.
Right.
But if he has taken loan 2 years back, that means he would have taken loan at around 10%, 9.5 to 9.8%. So his interest rate can be brought down by 1 to 1.5 percentage point.
If a new bank is, normally you shift your loan from one bank to the other.
Easily, there is no cost in that.
But if the project is not got off the ground, maybe a new banker will not lend to this project.
There are enough number of banks who will be lending him at the lower rate. There's no issue on that. But the only issue is this, that if that, I mean, he's saying that he has shelved the project, or that he can't do.
Developers cannot shelve projects anymore. Like if they've collected money from you, there has to be some way of completing the project. And in fact, last time when we were discussing last week, we got a development consultant whose whole format is he brings in the money, he works with the developer, he completes the project, he takes his management fee because developers cannot exit like that. They have to complete.
They'll have to return the money otherwise.
Yes.
With interest.
There is, how will the money deposited in the escrow account be used by the developer, and how can the consumer keep a track? This is basis what you said in the beginning.
Here what happens that when escrow account is open, it's open for a purpose, okay? For the construction of this apartments. Now there can be 2 signatory in that or 3 signatory on that. One of the signatory or the majority of the signatory can be from the buyer side. The 2 signatories say from the buyer side, 1 signatory from the developer side. And the money can be withdrawn only with the consent of the buyers association, and ensure that when you are signing that check, that money, it is going to the person who is completing the construction of the project. So you can monitor it very easily by opening an escrow account and by monitoring the flow of funds into that.
Right. Jitendra Kumar has said, how can we take out money from a builder who's going bankrupt? We did discuss this in the beginning. You can't take your money out. When the builder is going bankrupt, right now, you have to go to the right authorities, go to RERA, go to the Consumer Redressal Forum. The courts are sympathetic towards the consumers, and the RERA is looking after the...
what RERA can do right now under the existing provision, that RERA can appoint or transfer that entire project to some other developer, and they will say that, okay, now you negotiate with the buyers that with what condition you can complete the project. And RERA can put that developer for time being completely out of the project, and then you have the option to file a case against that developer to recover the money which they have or he has diverted from the projects. That you can do simultaneously.
So the money that they've taken out of the project, they will have to return.
He can be penalized also by the court for that purpose.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us. This is an issue that is very, very critical today. Consumers who have put their money into the project, how do they ensure that their money is safe, that they get their projects, especially the end users who are hit by the double whammy of EMI as well as the rental values. We will keep picking up issues that our consumers are raising. And here, remember that when Prabhakar and I come here, we are journalists, we are talking to the industry, and we're talking to all segments of the industry to get your queries answered. The solutions that we bring in here are not individual. We talk to the markets, we find solutions to your problems, and once we raise your problems, we find solutions and come back to you. Thank you for watching us. Have a great day.